Trent, how's it going, man?
I'm good, man. How about yourself?
I'm really good, man. I'm so excited to have you on the show. It's been a while since we've been chatting offline, and I'm glad to finally have you on. So, Trent, tell us a little bit about yourself. How old you are, how many kids you got, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I'm 33. I got two kids. One is 2.5, so I got a one right smack dab in the middle of terrible twos, and then I have that's my daughter. I have a son. He actually turns one in less than a month. So I had two
Oh,
under two for quite a while. I'm past that now. Now I have a terrible two and then a little crawling baby that's all over the place. So
okay. Terrible too. Why do you say that? What's going on with her?
it's what isn't going on. She's great. She's really intelligent, really smart. Has a big personality. But in saying that, her favorite, I won't even say her favorite word. Her favorite two letters right now are N and O.
Okay.
Pretty much nonstop. So, basically, we have to like us, my wife and I, as parents, have to qualify basically everything that we do to her. We have to explain to her everything that we're doing. Like nothing that we say is good enough taken for taking out our words. So, hey, you've eaten green beans before. I know you like green beans. No, I don't. You literally just had them last week. Nope. It's like
Was it me?
so that kind of thing.
Okay.
And she definitely is in that stage too, where she has all these emotions and she doesn't know like what to do with them. She's like she throws herself on the floor a lot. She doesn't really like throw tantrums so much. It's not. I mean, she does scream a little bit, but not like kicking and screaming. It's kind of just like either screaming or kicking, not both at the same time. But anytime we try to like correct her or get her to go in a certain direction, she'll just she'll just drop to the floor like dead weight. So yeah.
How do you handle those? You come across as I don't know, man. I don't know if anybody ever told you that, but you come across as the chillest guy, worry free. Is that you? Am I
Yeah.
sizing you up right?
Yeah. That's pretty much me. My wife and I are we're both pretty laid back. In saying that, like definitely, my daughter has definitely pushed us to our limits. Probably, I mean, my wife's a stay-at-home mom, so she's probably pushed her buttons a lot more than mine. Sometimes I kind of feel like I'm coming in to like save my wife from, having a tantrum of her own. But yeah, no, how I usually handle it, I'm a pretty persistent person as well. So I kind of just try to like persist through. I guess I don't really get tired of like saying over and over again like why she shouldn't be doing this thing.
Okay.
I will say though that we do ignore her a lot when she's like, if she's not like communicating back with us, if she's like throwing herself on the ground and she wants to like just lay there or whatever, like we'll let her lay there and kind of just walk away, ignore it for a time. But
Let her get it out.
yeah, let her get it out, like let her get past that. Like, I mean, I'm sure you've been angry, I've been angry. It's like once you get past that anger, it's like you're on the other side, like you're just seeing red. It's like when you're on the other side of it, you're like a lot more open to the communication. And I think I just try to get to the other side of the tantrum however we can. So yeah, that's really I'd say I'm just really persistent. Maybe even like a little too persistent. Maybe I should just like let her like go, like throw a tantrum or something a little bit longer. But I'll keep on explaining it to her probably as long as I have the energy to do it. So
It's funny. The reason I asked you about the terrible twos thing is because a lot of people debate that. They say you shouldn't say terrible twos or teenage threes or whatever it is.
three-nagers. I heard that one for the first time the other
Three-nagers?
day. Yeah, I heard that. I just heard that one for the first time the other day. That's
Yeah.
three-nagers. That's a good one.
Yeah, I look. For sure, starting at 2 years old, it starts to get more challenging because they're developing their personalities.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a crowd of people that think that, oh, you shouldn't label them that, you know. that it's just a myth. That it's not an actual developmental phase called teenage or three-nager or terrible twos. That's not a thing.
Yeah.
It's something that parents are coming up with to place the blame on the kids instead of just admitting, oh, okay, well, maybe it's my parenting. What do you think about that? Is there such a thing as, I mean, you mentioned it, but
yeah. No, that's fair. I mean, I see where people would come from in saying that. I'd be curious to know if those people had kids of their own or not. I think that a lot of times stuff like that's thrown around by therapists or psychologists or whatever that don't necessarily have kids of their own or are seeing things through the lens of a textbook or something like that. But my wife and I try really hard not to. We try really hard not to like tell our daughter that she's being bad or that she's being a bad girl. So I don't like put those labels on her. I don't like try to label her, make her think that she is a bad girl like all the time, So we don't really say that. But it's kind of funny you mentioned that. The thing about like labeling them as like terrible twos. One thing I always like to say is like with like babies like teething and like cutting teeth, like I think you cut teeth from whatever, maybe 8 months till like 10 years old. Some kids like don't stop cutting teeth till like 10 years old.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was like to cut teeth, but I can't imagine it's that good of an experience, So
Probably not.
I think that a big reason why like the terrible twos, the three-nagers, like why that label is there is to kind of explain what a lot of us as parents, it's like a shared experience of parenting that like when your kids are 2 and 3, they're developing their personality, they're developing their temperament, they have a lot of emotions and they're starting to actually get strong in a lot of ways too, like both like strong-willed and physically, like where they could actually hurt you if they swing something at you or throw something at you, especially if you're not expecting it. So I think that it's kind of like it's like dealing with a drunk person all the time, almost in my mind. Like it's like you can't really. I don't know if that's really the best like comparison, but
it's interesting.
Yeah, I just think that it's a label that is a little bit of like a camaraderie between yourself and other parents that have experienced that.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely been people that are like, for me, like the 2s weren't that bad, but then the 3s hit, or 2s and 3s weren't that bad, but then 4 and 5 were like, whatever. Or, some people, they just don't have that experience. And I think at the end of the day, everybody's their own person.
For
and I think I'll find out real quick that, my son, even if we raise him the same way as our daughter, he's not going to be the same person. But I don't think you really even can raise them the same way. People say that a lot too, like that they raise their kids the same way, but you can't possibly raise them the same way, because for my daughter, everything was the first experience of dealing with something, and there are firsts with my son, but a lot of it's I'm a veteran 2-year-old. Like I mean, in my 2.5 years of being a parent, like the stuff that he's going through is not surprising me at all.
Sure.
Not in the same way. So.
Yeah, you can't replicate. Even though you go in with those intentions, maybe it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Just, and I can confirm that. I have 2 kids, 6 and 4. The way I approached raising my daughter is much different than the way I raised my son, who's the eldest. It's just, well, there's also the fact that it's boy and girl.
Right. Yeah. Same thing. Yeah. Same thing.
Just naturally it just comes out that way. I didn't intend to, but I think the way you raise a boy and the way you raise a girl is different.
Yeah. So what do you think about the terrible 2s and three-nager thing? Do you think there's some?
There's something to it.
Yeah.
It's I've noticed it with my kids. But I think it's more about them, growing into their personalities and gaining more of an independence and wanting to do everything on their own. That's just something that all kids are going to grow through.
Yeah, they're
go
pushing
through.
those boundaries for like what they're allowed to do or what they're going to get away with, that kind of thing. They're seeing what their
Yeah.
place is in the
They
house
want to
in the
know what their
world.
limits are.
Mm-hmm.
They want to test them, and they will test you.
Yeah,
So it's
definitely.
just something that I think they all need to go through. At which age, that maybe that varies, but I mean, generally speaking, it usually starts right about that age, around 2 years
Mm-hmm.
old, and it goes on until they're 5, 6. My eldest, he's 6, almost 7, and he's definitely past that phase now
Yeah.
of challenging every single thing. So I do see where it comes from. Between 2 and 5 is yeah, it's red in there.
Yeah.
So there is something to it.
There's a little bit of a communication gap there too, to have like the emotions that kids have, because they know they want something, and you tell them no, and they don't understand why, and you can't explain them out of that like you would potentially be able to explain it to a 7-year-old. Like
Yeah.
you can't, the last time that you ate a donut at 9 o'clock at night right before bed, you didn't feel so good afterwards, or whatever, like they
Yeah.
kind of understand that. But like to my daughter, she's like, I don't see any problem at all with having a bag of M&Ms that grandma gave me at 9 o'clock at night. Like, yeah, well, we're gonna have a conversation with grandma, so
Yeah, you can try to reason as much as you want with a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
They're not going to hear it.
no.
Trent, there's a very specific reason. Aside from the fact that I enjoy chatting with you, there's another reason why I wanted to have you on, is because you wrote a book,
I did.
and I have it right here with me. It's called "To Those Who Wait: The Life-Changing Power of Delayed Gratification." Should I do? Should this be the YouTube thumbnail?
Yeah, that's the thumbnail.
Got it. Nailed it. That's gonna be the thumbnail. I'm telling you right
I
now.
like it. Yeah, do it.
It's happening. I read it. I really enjoyed it. I wanted you to tell me a little bit about. Well, first of all, this is your first book, right?
Yeah, this is my first book.
Okay. So, did you always want to write a book? And if yes, why delayed gratification? How did the whole idea come about?
So I think I definitely always did want to write a book. I definitely didn't think that this was going to be the one, though. I was trying to... this idea popped into my mind because I was, A, trying to become a better writer. B, I wanted to have some routine in my life to make that happen, to be a better writer. And C, I really wanted to leave some sort of message behind for my kids, and my grandkids and my great grandkids, that I don't have to be there to like tell them like these life lessons. And I tried to I thought about it for a while, and at the end of the day, I dialed in to where I was like, everything good in my life that I have has all been due to my ability to delay gratification. And then I was kind of thinking about that on like a more, I don't say global scale, but more like more on a more public scale, where it's like, I think that everybody owes like the successes that they've had in their life to delay gratification in some way, shape, and form. So I was kind of like, inspired to like drill down to like the most minute aspect of it, of like, what can you apply to any aspect of your life and see improvements in it. And I felt like delayed gratification would be that thing. So once I decided that I was going to do that, and I wanted to do it for my kids, my grandkids, my legacy, we'll say, then I was like, well, there's other people in my life that I think could benefit from this too. I have younger siblings, younger cousins, stuff like that. And then I was like, well, maybe the world at large could benefit from this as well. And surprisingly, when I wrote it, I had in mind this like my avatar that I was writing it to was like 15 to like early 20-year-old young adults. And surprisingly, I've had a lot of older people, like 40s, 50s and up, actually reach out to me and tell me like how much they like the book. So it's kind of, you know, I've had some of the younger crowd, you know, say that too, like the people I was aiming for. But it really surprised me that people, you know, that people that were older than what I like, way older than I expected, would get that much benefit out of it. So, but I think it's like, you know, it's kind of, I'm in that heading towards middle-aged area. You know, my life's kind of changing with having kids and stuff like that. And I think it is like a perspective. I put it in a perspective that kind of appeals to all ages. So yeah,
I didn't get that feeling. That it's interesting that you mentioned that it was maybe more targeted towards a younger crowd, but I didn't get that impression at all reading it. I feel like it could easily be applied to just anybody.
Yeah, I'm glad you say that.
Because if I'm being honest, and you can tell me if you agree with this, but delayed gratification is a concept to me that is not being applied in a widespread way. I feel like that's something that, if not most people, then I can say at least a lot of people need to work on. What do you think about that?
I definitely agree with that. I think that's what, I mean, we see it in so many facets of the human condition right now.
Right. People out of shape.
People out of shape. People with no faith. Like not even just like in a higher power, which I talk about in the book, but faith in themselves. So you see a lot of people that are depressed and see no way out. You know, you see people that aren't delaying gratification financially. They're racking up debt, putting stuff on credit cards nonstop. And yeah, all these facets of our life. I mean, you see people walking around, and granted, that's not just me, like, judging people that I see, like, walking by, like, going to the, I mean, I bring it up in the book, like, seeing somebody at the, like, I'm pumping gas, and I see somebody go in and grab, like, 2 Monsters and a pack of smokes, you know, I'm like, all right, that person doesn't care about their, you know, their future at all. But people go on the internet and complain about these things. Like, I'm seeing people's own life stories about, like, you know, that I'm not where I am, you know, because of this, that, and the other. And it's like, dude, you literally could just not do those things for a set amount of time, and you would be all right. For, like, you would at least be in a better place than you are now. Like, I'm not saying you have to not do this forever, but I'm saying if you could not do it for a month, 2 months, 3 months, you'd be in a better place, and maybe you wouldn't want to do it forever after that. Right. And that's, you know, I know that there are other complications involved with that, like addictions and stuff like that, but yeah, I agree. I definitely saw that there was, again, from the lens of teaching my own legacy to my children and my grandchildren, etc. From the lens of that, I wanted them to know that this is what I believed in, and what got me to where I am. So there you have it.
What would you say to someone that is maybe listening to this and saying, well, this guy's he's young. What does he know about delayed gratification? He hasn't lived yet.
Yeah. Well, I think that in some ways they're right. Which is why it's important for me to delay gratification, because I'm not older. I want to be somewhere better older than as I age, I want to be better and better and better and better. I don't want to be worse. So in some regards, they're right. I am still young, but I also think that I look this good because I do delay gratification. So
there you go. I was just about to say, look, you're obviously in shape. Is that something that you've consciously applied delayed gratification to? That's one aspect of it, because I know it's one of the pillars you talk about in the book, and that's another thing I wanted to mention, by the way, is that I really enjoyed the way you structured it to apply it to like 5 different aspects of life. What was it? It was family, friends, fitness, finance, and faith.
Yep.
Right. So for the fitness part, obviously we might not think about it, but it is something that's necessary in order to be healthy and in shape.
Mm-hmm.
Not eating those donuts at the office, well, that's going to help you be, you might want it now, the small dopamine hit of having a donut today. But like the short-term dopamine hit it's going to prevent you from being fit, whatever fitness objectives you have, in 6 months from now, right? So if you keep doing that, then you're not achieving your objectives. So is that something that you've been applying consciously? So every time you hit the gym or you eat a healthy meal, are you consciously thinking about that?
Oh yeah, for sure. So I did split it up, like the fitness part is split up into like nutrition and then like working out. From the aspect that I think that a lot of people combine the two, or they ignore one or the other. And I'm not infallible. I mean, I'm not perfect. I'll say, I went into work today and there was actually donuts, and there never are. And I gave in and had a donut, but I didn't feel any guilt after it because I don't do that on a regular basis. That's like whatever. I think about that all the time. So I do intermittent fasting. So I have like a 11 to 7 eating window. I've been doing that for at least a decade.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then, I'm always trying to like kind of biohack a little bit. Not that I'm like a super, I do like Andrew Huberman stuff, but I think that there's also like a diminishing returns on a lot of that biohacking stuff. You have to kind of pick and choose what will go with you for the long term. So for me, my like non-negotiables, if I had like a list of non-negotiables, it would be like intermittent fasting and going on a walk with my family every day. Those things never change. Outside of that, I try to get cardio and weightlifting in every week. I play adult like league soccer. I've been doing that for my whole life pretty much. So nice. I guess I've always been an adult, but since I've been out of university, I've played in like a sort of non-competitive adult league. So that's like camaraderie, and also gives me a reason. Actually, this is what I would say, one of the biggest benefits of me playing in an adult soccer league is like there are people that are there's not too many people that are older than me playing in there, but I see like younger and younger people come in there. It allows me the ability to compare myself on a fitness level. I can feel when I've been slacking on my cardio.
Okay.
So then I'll be like, all right, well, next time I go to the gym, I'm picking it up. Like for the next week, I'm hitting it harder. Like I'm doing an extra mile every run. I'm whatever. So those things I do consciously do, and actually I think that would actually be a good thing. Probably should have. I don't know if I've had a section in there about specifically doing like pickup games or something like that, but I think that that's a good way for men to find a way to compare themselves to the person that they used to be,
right?
And so they know how they need to push a little bit harder to maintain that. But yeah, I'm not really a dessert person. I think that when you stop doing those things all the time, eating desserts with every meal, I do have a sweet tooth, but if you don't do it all the time, stuff tastes sweeter to you. Strawberries and things like that become a dessert after a certain amount of time.
See, I have a sweet tooth like you wouldn't believe. So I've had to put in place rules, and for my kids too, because for a while my kids were asking for dessert after every single meal every day, and I realized it at some point. I told my wife, like, oh man, what do we do? we gotta get rid of this thing. We gotta tone it down. So we came up with this rule of, okay, let's just try it on the weekend. They'll have one dessert Saturday or Sunday, whenever. And so gradually, we managed to get it done. It took a few weeks, a lot of arguing. Obviously, the kids were not on board with this idea. But after a while, you know what? They stopped asking. After a few weeks, they stopped asking after dinner during the week for sweets, because they understood, they internalized it. they had to go along with it. That was the rule that we all agreed upon. Well, that we that
Yeah.
the parents agreed upon, but that they had to agree upon. So, you know what? And it's interesting because in the book you mentioned a specific exercise to do with kids, to ask them if they want. I forget what the treat was, but like something like a lollipop today or two on the weekend.
Oh, is the like the
marshmallow
thing? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's actually like a famous experiment. Like to like see they did the marshmallow experiment was to find they tried to like find kids that could delay gratification as a kid. So they offered them a marshmallow now, and they would say, if you don't eat this, when I come back in, I'll give you another one.
Right.
And they had kids that were able to not eat it, and they had kids that ate it right away, you know. And they followed these kids through life up to a certain point, and they found that the kids that on average, the kids that were able to forego the marshmallow to get 2 marshmallows had greater academic and health successes and social successes than the kids that ate the marshmallow right away.
That's something.
So and so I brought up another thing was like, you know, I mentioned offering your kids like, do you want to watch like 15 minutes of TV now, or do you want to go outside and play for a half an hour, and then you can come inside and watch TV for half an hour?
Yeah.
And see, like, you know, you kind of make those sort of deals with them.
Have you been doing that with your kids? Maybe your 2-year-old more than obviously the
I mean,
1-year-old.
It's definitely a work in progress. That's kind of my theory on doing that now. With my daughter, she loves playing outside. So for a lot of times, it's trying to get her to come inside to eat that I have to, you know, like, it's more like, hey, I'll push you if you let me, if we go inside and eat, we can come back out and I'll push you on the swing for like a half an hour. But if you stay out here now, you're only going to get it pushed on the swing for like 10 minutes. So
that's a nice problem to have, though.
Yeah,
she likes to play outside a lot. Nice problem.
That's where I want to. That's where I like to be, especially like spring. Well, mostly summer and fall. I want to be outside. Like if the sun's out, I want to be outside. So we're outside a lot, and yeah, that's she loves it. We got like a little rope swing thing hanging from our tree in the backyard, and
nice.
She just wants to. I mean, what am I supposed to say? You know, come swing me, Daddy. I'm like, all right, you know. It's kind of fun for me too, you know. We sing songs and stuff like that, and next thing I know, it's like half an hour's going by, and my wife's like, "Hey, dinner's been ready for like 10 minutes." And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
So how do you get her to come inside?
I tell her we'll come back outside after dinner.
Okay. And
most of the time, that happens. Sometimes it doesn't. Again, depending on the tantrum situation and stuff like that. I try to use that as a. I try to use positive things as a bribe more than negative things. At least my vision of negative. Obviously, sugary things or TV and stuff like that. So if I can bribe her with playtime, outside time, swing time, that kind of stuff, I'll do that 10 times out of 10.
So Trent, what would you say to like parents who would like to apply this concept for their kids, whether it be with treats or toys or anything like that? How can they apply delayed gratification for their kids?
First and foremost, I mean, parents have to be an example of it for their kids. So you can't. I don't think that for any of us the do as I say, not as I do thing ever like went super well when we were kids.
Yeah.
As much as my parents tried to pull that one on me, but I think you have to be like the biggest way that your kids will have success delaying gratification is if you exemplify that. And I actually was just listening to, I don't know if you listened to the Art of Manliness podcast, but they had a gal on there talking about being like a tech intentional family.
Okay.
And one of the things that she talked about was like, how can you expect your kids not to have their phones or devices in their bedrooms at night if you're using your phone as an alarm clock in your bedroom at night and stuff? You know, it's a lot easier. Again, this is like a communication gap thing. It's a lot easier for you to explain that it's easier to say nobody does it in the house than it is like, oh, just mom and dad get to have our phones in bed at night, you know? So that's something I've been thinking about a lot the last couple weeks since that episode aired. But outside of exemplifying it yourself, the other thing I would say is just what we were just talking about, like just trying to come up with little games to show them the power of waiting for a better reward. So you can do the marshmallow experiment type thing, or the bribe type thing. Another one that's really, I mean, I'm trying to think of like that's where I'm at with my daughter right now. So I don't know if I feel super confident in like saying anything else, but maybe let's visit it again here in a couple of years, and I'll tell you what works for me then. Because I just, the bribes and the the bribes are about the only thing that work other than me exemplifying it myself. So and she's been easy, like I said, she likes playing outside and stuff. So
that's awesome.
We'll see how it goes here in the winter when we can't be outside as much.
Let's address the finance pillar of applying delayed gratification to. Now, obviously, you cover it in the book, but for those who haven't read it yet, and I suggest everybody reads it, and we'll let you know where you can pick that up. And how would you apply it to finances? You know, aside from the obvious, you know, don't spend what you don't have. What would you recommend to people?
Yeah, so you definitely need to like track your finances. I think that I can't think of the quote off the top of my head, but it's that what gets measured gets managed. Yeah. I think that's the key. So outside of that, I personally I consider myself to be a minimalist or an essentialist. I don't know. I'm kind of in between the two now. It's hard to be a minimalist when you have kids. I think that's a little bit. Some people might say that you can, hard. But yeah, it's hard. But when you're applying it to finances, the delayed gratification thing, don't spend what you don't have. I talk about it in there. Do challenges with yourself where it's like, how long can I go without this thing? I do that to myself all the time, and then I completely forgot what I even like. You have these tabs open on your browser, and it's like, oh, I forgot I was ever looking at those work boots. You know, like my work boots have been just fine for the last 3 months, and I almost bought that pair of work boots. You know, stuff like that. You can gamify it with yourself to where you get more than just like a better bank account. You get like a little bit of the dopamine hit from outlasting your
impulse.
your own impulse, right?
Yeah.
So
like maybe pausing, you know, let's say I'm on Amazon and I'm looking at some gadget, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I really want this. So like pause maybe before clicking buy or add to cart or whatever. Mm-hmm. Pause for maybe, I don't know, and put it off till tomorrow and see how you feel about it tomorrow or a week.
Yeah, that's good. I like to use little boxes, and I actually let me see here. I have my notebook here in front of me that I use like field notes, and I do like these little grids. And this one specifically was for my writing, for like a writing habit. But like if you do like 7 boxes and you write above it, I'm going to buy this thing after 7 days, or I want this thing. It's like, but I'm going to wait 7 days to buy it.
Yeah.
You check that off every day. At the end of 7 days, then you assess whether or not you still want that thing or not. And at least at that point, it won't be from an impulse. It'll be from necessity. You've had 7 days to quantify it. You've had 7 days to meditate on it, pray on it, whatever. And if you still need it or want it after 7 days, there's a much higher chance that it'll bring you some sort of joy in your life, you know? I think the key is definitely, like you said, just breaking that impulse.
Yeah.
And, you know, especially you talk about gadgets on Amazon, like, man, we're constantly getting bombarded with advertisements, and this stuff works. That's why they do it.
iPhone 16.
Yeah, they advertise it like you're going to be a loser if you don't have the newest, the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're not. You're not going to be a loser if you don't have it. And, you know, a lot of that stuff is marketed towards a younger crowd, but it's older people with disposable income and stuff that actually end up purchasing it a lot of the time, and they don't need it either, especially for their kids or whatever.
Right.
So, the financial one is actually one of I think it's one of the easier ones, the financial delayed gratification and the fitness, because you can measure it a lot easier than you can things like faith and your family and friendships. But they're important facets of your life.
Yeah.
But you can watch your bank account grow. I like seeing numbers go up.
Investing,
not go down.
right? You put in $10,000 in a bond. Sure, you don't have access to that money now because it's a 5-year bond, and you can't touch it until it matures. Then for those 5 years, you're not touching that 10.
Yeah.
And then you're waiting until 5, and then interest, and you're up, $5 grand.
Right.
So that's right there.
Yeah, just looking at the long-term picture for those sorts of things, and I don't know how you feel about crypto, but to me, crypto is like the fast food of the finance industry, kind of, or like investing.
Yeah,
it's gambling to me at its core, but I know people have made money off of it, and people believe in what they tell you to believe in it about it, but but I do think it's I think that if you're going to invest in anything, you should look at the long-term outlook of it and not just trying to make money in the short term.
What about those that think, crypto is the next big thing? That's going to be how we're going to pay for everything. So it's not gambling. And actually I'm using delayed gratification because I'm investing in it now, thinking that it's going to be the currency in 10 years, let's say. Wouldn't they be applying it then? If they really believe in it, you know?
I could see that. I guess I would say that this is also my own filter, my own lens that I'm viewing it through. I guess I just would say don't put all your eggs in that basket, because if you are looking at even a longer term view of it, then it might be better to diversify, get something else too that is more tried and true. So
yeah,
that's a good one though. If you do really believe in it, then I guess you have to.
And a lot of people do, man.
I know.
And you're starting to see it pop up. You see some stores that have the Bitcoin sign, and we accept Bitcoin. And you're like, oh, really? Stores are accepting it now, so it's becoming a little bit more part of our reality. It's not there yet, but I've been seeing it a lot more now. So it makes me think, oh, okay, so this is happening then.
Yeah, I think Bitcoin's Bitcoin's like the first and foremost one that is probably here to stay in some way, shape, and form, I'd imagine.
Right. Oh, I wasn't talking about all those made up ones.
Yeah. That's kind of right. Yeah, that's where people really get in trouble is with
anybody. It seems like anybody can create one nowadays or something.
Yeah. I mean, how many people are in prison right now for it being like a scam or fraud thing?
Yeah.
But yeah, it is kind of interesting. I agree. I mean, I was on the edge of Bitcoin. I was still at university when that started popping up over a decade ago, but it was getting brought up in my economics courses and stuff like that, and I was like, I'm gonna go check this out, and I didn't have the assets to move into Bitcoin. I'd be a lot richer right now if I did, but uh, I kind of believed in it back then, I suppose, and it's still around. So anything's possible.
Trent, one of the biggest pillars that you spoke about in the book that made me think, oh man, yeah, this is the ultimate one. To me, this, and I maybe not everybody's going to agree with me on this one, but out of all 5 pillars that you spoke about, to me, faith was like the ultimate, because you're believing in something now. That's the way I saw it. Is you're believing in something now, and you're living your life a certain way now, in order to achieve, for those that believe in it, going to heaven. Is that where your mind was going when you delved into that aspect, or was it something else entirely?
Well, I think that faith is the foundation of delayed gratification, and that's why it's the very first one that I talk about, because I do think, both biblically and in my book, it is the foundation of everything. So the faith that what your long-term vision is, you have to have the faith that when you delay gratification, it's going to work out. And there's you could have some experience or knowledge that backs that up, but at the end of the day, again, talking about, you'd have to have a lot of faith to put all your eggs in like a Bitcoin or crypto basket. But I did start out with faith because fundamentally that's the basis for pretty much all knowledge that we have in the world right now. Started from basically trying to figure out our place in the universe, and especially delving into the Bible, biblical teachings, whether it's Old Testament or New Testament. And for me personally, I would say that everything that I'm doing here is for not only just to leave a legacy behind, but I do want to ascend into heaven after I leave this earth. So as a Christian, God-following man, I do think that was in the back of my mind, that I wanted to get that out there, especially when I consider that my grandchildren are going to be reading this. So I specifically wanted to call that out because I don't want there to be any question about where I stand on it. Now, I do think that other religions do. I mean, people that subscribe to other religions might have a similar sort of outlook on it. Yeah, I don't know. That's a deep, thought-provoking question. But yes, I do. I mean, faith is that's the ultimate form of delayed gratification. And it's the foundation. It's what everything's built on.
Yeah, my thoughts. As I was reading it, exactly.
I carry on with I talked about faith in yourself and faith in others too, and I think you see that a lot showing up as mental illnesses with people, where people are more likely to go see a therapist. And I don't want to necessarily knock that, because I do think there are people that need help out there. But the turning away from seeking religious leaders and stuff like that is interesting to me, for certain topics, because I do think that historically speaking, people have turned to their pastors or religious leaders for help in times of crisis, mental crisis and stuff like that.
Right.
And now they're turning to people that they pay to help them, which kind of adds another whole thing to it. So,
dude, how does it feel knowing that you wrote this book and your kids are very young right now, obviously, but when they get older, they're gonna have this tangible thing that their father made? How does it feel knowing that even potentially your grandkids will have a copy and they'll read it one day. How does it feel knowing that?
It honestly feels really good. It makes me want to do more things like that. It makes me want to do more legacy defining things that I leave behind for my children and my grandchildren. I lost my mom is the baby of her siblings, and so like I lost my grandpa. I wasn't at a young age. I was in my 20s, but he never left behind anything like this. And it kind of really stinks because I would have liked to ask him. I would have liked to have asked him some things about. I actually talk about it in the book, like being able to ask my grandpa for help with like stuff around my house or whatever. And for me personally, I love that no matter what happens to me, there's going to be like a slice of me left around for my future generations to like read, and they're going to get to see inside my mind without me being there to like tell them.
Yeah. And
that's pretty cool. And I think that for a lot of people, I think there's a lot of men out there that should be working on something like that. I think it doesn't have to be a book. It could be a podcast. It could be a YouTube channel. It could be anything creative that you can leave behind. Because at the end of the day, it does give your progeny a glimpse into what you were like as a person. So
that's quite a legacy.
I'm thankful that I was able to put my thoughts into words and put them in a book. If for no other reason than that, that's for sure.
Awesome. Trent, one of the pillars that you spoke about, the last one that I want to dive into, that made me go like, where's he going with this, is one about friendship. Can you describe the logic behind that and how it relates to delayed gratification?
Yeah, so friendship is a tough one because you heard the saying like blood is thicker than water, and I think that there's a lot of sort of dialogue circling around out there right now that you can like pick, you can choose your family, and in some regards I think you can, but I think a lot of that is like rejecting like the classical way of thinking. But what I would like to get into is when you are choosing your friends, when you're building up these relationships, again, just having the long-term vision of what that's going to look like. When you're building up a friendship, you're putting time and effort and energy into it. You should be. And you get something in return. It's a reciprocal, it's a two-way street. It's a reciprocal relationship.
Right.
So you have to have faith that relationship, you have to, like when you're delaying the gratification to build up that relationship, you have to sort of believe that that it's going to like be something that makes you a better person at the end of the day.
Okay.
So I would say that a lot of what I talked about in that aspect of it is I talked a lot about cutting people out of your life that might be holding you back from being your best self. And I talk about ways in how I've found that you can make new friendships with people that are a good fit for you, for both yourself, your family, and for the life that you want to live. So that was a really tough one for me to write because I did not want to come across as like friends in your life are just tools that you can like use to get ahead or like cast aside and stuff like that. Because I don't
get that at all.
Yeah, and that's I was kind of like I was trying to come at it from an angle of this is just life. This is part of life. Is you as you grow and go through the seasons of your life, there's going to be people that go down a separate path. There's going to be people that come into your path, and I think that you just need to nurture the ones that are truly along for that you want to nurture the ones that will help make you the best version of yourself.
Right. Plus, you got to work at it too, right? A friendship takes work, just like a relationship does. A romantic one. I think friendship, it takes effort, takes time, and it's not something that. Well, actually, it's something that a lot of men, after they get married and have kids, sort of neglect. And I think it's not a good thing. It's men need support, men need community, but it does take work. You have to make time for it, invest in it. By meeting up with them and talking with them and seeing what they're about, and offering them guidance and leadership, maybe even. So it's something that you have to work at, and it builds trust, right, long term. And then maybe one day you'll need help, and that friend will be there because of everything that you guys worked together to build this friendship.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, that's how I saw it in terms of delayed gratification. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree with that. I even from like a business relationship standpoint as well, you can't what's Alex Ramosi said it before, but you can't you make deposits and you make withdrawals out of the relationship. That's like a Stephen Covey 7 Habits of Highly Effective People thing. So you're the delayed gratification is making the deposits into the relationship, and then at some point in time you're probably going to need to make a withdrawal. If you're only making deposits into a relationship, even if you're only making deposits, then it's not really that's the kind of relationship, a friendship that I would say that maybe you need to move on from.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I definitely as a young man in his 33rd year and with 2 kids, it's never been harder than it is right now to maintain friendships. Thankful for a lot of the friendships that I've been able to make through like Lords of X and meeting you and other guys on X. It's really what I came to the platform for, was to make these sorts of to network and make these sorts of relationships happen. And now we're able to just have conversations about anything, just weird hypotheticals and stuff like that. So
Exactly. Trent, thank you so much for coming on Dads with Mics. Let us know, where can people find To Those Who Wait?
Yeah. It's listed on Amazon. All you have to do is type in To Those Who Wait. It'll be the first one. It should be the first one that comes up. But you'll know it by the graphic that I have there. And have it both for Kindle and paperback. Other than that, it's also on my X profile at Trenton F. Cole. And drop a follow.
Awesome. You working on anything else right now? Another book?
Not working on another book right now. Honestly, not sure where I go from here. I've been thinking about some other stuff that I'd like to write about. Like I said, I spend a lot of time outdoors, especially in the summer and fall. So I don't know, maybe like a gardening book or something might be coming in my future.
Oh.
Like that'd be another thing that'd be nice to pass along some of the things I've learned. Especially there's a million gardening books out there, but for my legacy, there's only one that'd be written by a family member, so
True.
It's kind of, I don't know, maybe not, we'll see.
All right, sounds good, man. Thanks again for joining me.
Yeah, thank you so much.